Good morning, good evening, wherever you are across the nation and around the world. This is Deja Brew, waking you up to truth, one sip at a time. Today, I want to talk about channeling Elvis. Yes, Elvis, the Aaron Elvis Presley, or Elvis Aaron Presley, however you say his name, the one and only, the King of Rock, right? And I have an interesting connection with Elvis. I was 4 years old in 1977 when Elvis passed away, and I remember dropping to my knees and telling my mother that he had went too soon, that he was supposed to be here to help humanity like me. And I had a life-size poster of him on the back of my bedroom door at 4 years old because I recognized him, one star child to another. I recognized him. Many people did. Many people adored him. They just didn't understand why. So, a little strange and kind of fun fact about the day that Elvis died. He died in 1977, and that was the same day that we received what is now commonly known as the wow signal, which came from the dark rift of the Milky Way where all of the old stars live, dwarf stars. And many of you know that I believe that we are in a binary or trinary star system. And so this is where our dwarf star would live, is in that neck of the woods out near the Sagittarius galaxy. And that's where this wow signal came from in 1977. And it lasted 72 seconds. I was born 7772. So for me, this wow signal was very significant because that's the day of my birth, 7772. And from the time I was big enough to speak, I was telling my parents that I came here for a great awakening that would begin in my late 40s. And a binary star is part of that story. I saw potential cataclysms if we choose that road to go down versus the one where we can create a new way of life, a new earth, if you will, by choosing a higher road, a road less traveled in collective consciousness. So 48 years later, Three Eye Atlas shows up with two others. One Eye Borisov and or One Eye Oumuamua, sorry, and Two Eye Borisov, and then Three Eye Atlas. And Atlas is the name that I was told was my true father from the lifetime that I left to come here. So again, another synchronicity. So this is why I chose to channel Elvis, to see if he would share with me any insights into any of this. And right off the bat, the first thing he told me is that Priscilla is pure evil, which I don't disagree with. She did pull the plug on her own daughter just so that she could make sure that she could run Graceland, and have the say so over the money and stuff. Well, as I channeled him, he actually explained to me why. So he immediately wanted to tell me that President Nixon, was set up and that the feds and the CIA are who set him up. They wanted him gone because he knew exactly who killed JFK. They planted President Ford after setting up Vice President Agnew, which I didn't even know who Nixon's vice president was. I do good to know some of the presidents of the United States, let alone who the VP was for each one of them. So when he gave me the name Agnew, I actually had to look it up to see, and it is accurate. The people, he said, loved Nixon, and so did he. But he knew who killed JFK, and he was going to expose them all. And then Elvis went on to explain to me that the reason that he knows this is because he is the one that Nixon tasked to dig up the dirt. He said, quote, I recovered evidence, witnesses, and tapes. I was the very first deputized DEA, drug enforcement agent, and I went to low places to get the dirt we needed, and I got it. He goes on to say that they didn't know what Elvis had found, only that he had it. And then he says to me, and my family never knew. For their safety, I kept it a total secret, except for Daddy. But they framed him, Nixon, so that he would shut up, or at best be completely discredited in his word if he did try to speak. And the thing is, he didn't have the goods. I did, Elvis. Still, he says, I still do. Made my daddy promise to lock it all away in case something happened to me, and that if it did, keep it locked up long enough to keep my immediate family safe. Anyone that they may suspect would know something and attempt to hurt them, to try to either force information out of them that they didn't even have and torture them unnecessarily, or as payback. So he did actually tell me who in his family now has this information, but I will not disclose who that is for their safety. But someone in his family has this information now, and it will be released as he had it instructed in the year 2026. They do not know what it is that they have or what they're releasing or unvaulting, but it will tell the truth of who all was really involved in the assassination of a great man, father, husband, son, America's Camelot, and a sitting U.S. president. He goes on to explain to me that Priscilla wanted to get even with him, with Elvis, for wanting the divorce. They were only married like 4 years. So Priscilla spied on him and, quote, told the right people what I was up to loosely. She didn't know for sure or exact, but she did enough snooping to know enough. After all, they got me, right? Is the way he put it. And it was almost tongue in cheek, the way he said that. But this is why she clawed her way into my estate. She thought my evidence was still there, and she could decide whether to release it or use it for leverage to get more money. Little did she realize my daddy and my people were already on to her. They saw right through her and her ploys and put it all somewhere safe that she would never be able to touch it or make any decisions about if or when it's released or trying to sell it to the highest bidder. So it's not at Graceland, and it hasn't been at Graceland for a long, long, long time. And he assured me but soon it will all be revealed. And yes, I am very spiritual, always was. And yes, I'm what you call a volunteer or a starseed also. He says to me, "Remember that wow signal?" And he laughed. Then he was gone. He just simply said, "Remember that wow signal?" Sort of giggled about it and then faded away. So I did a little bit of research. JFK was assassinated on November 22nd, 1963, which was JFK Jr.'s birthday, right before Thanksgiving. Nixon was forced to resign as president on August 9th of 1974. The wow signal happened on August 15th, 1977, and Elvis was reportedly found dead on August 16th, 1977. And as I stated before, I didn't know all of the presidents, let alone the VPs. So I looked that up, and sure enough, the name he gave me of Agnew was Nixon's VP until they framed him and I think threw him in prison, if I remember correctly when I researched it. Um, I also remember in my childhood that my father had great disdain for the way that Nixon was framed. He knew that he was framed. Shortly after Elvis died is when I remember him really speaking about it very much. And mind you, Nixon had resigned 3 years before Elvis's death. But I can remember my dad speaking on that quite a bit. And right after Elvis's death, my dad actually disappeared for about 3 weeks. And as far as my memory can recall, it seems like to me that it was shortly after that that I started noticing that he would sleep with a weapon underneath of his pillow at all times. So I don't really know what that was about, or if it was even connected to anything about Elvis passing. But my dad was definitely a mysterious man who was involved in a lot of underground things, if you will. Also, interestingly enough, I discovered in my little bit of research that Nixon was actually the vice president to Eisenhower. So he did know quite a bit about the UFO alien subjects, which allegedly is why they wanted to silence JFK, because he was going to tell the world about the existence of aliens and their UFOs visiting us. And I also recall my father continually bringing up to remember Hoover. And Hoover is who ran the CIA at this time. Then we also have Howard Hughes, who is involved in this as well. Most people recognize Howard Hughes from his very famous voice as a news anchor and um, I think even radio. I think he was in radio as a personality, if I remember right. But he had a very distinct, deep voice that everyone knew. And I was also shown that Howard Hughes was the one who would dig up the dirt on honeypots and MK Ultra stuff for Nixon while he was Eisenhower's VP. So there are a lot of interesting connections there. And then, not sure how this would fit in exactly, but remember we had a 72 at the beginning of this. Well, we also have a 71. There were 71 days between the first sighting of Three Eye Atlas and Charlie Kirk's death. 71 backwards is 17. And Q connects all of these different honeypot, MK Ultra, nefarious things that alphabet agencies were up to and all of that stuff. And then R2 Swan, the comet, was discovered 3 days after Charlie Kirk's death. And interestingly enough, as well, Charlie's death occurred on or right before September 11th. I think it was on September 11th. So lots of weird connections between the nefarious things and the light, and pointing out the war, if you will, between dark and light, or the balance tipping in one direction or the other. And since we are in the era now, or the age of this great awakening, I'm going to bet that the light is what wins. So that's what I got from channeling Elvis. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please leave me a like. And if you're not already subscribed, I would appreciate it if you hit that little subscription button and notification bell. And be sure you don't miss any more of my videos, because I have several things coming up very soon. Thank you very much, and I will see you again before the new year.